Hey everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day so far and thanks for tuning in into this video. In this training video, we're going to be covering the directory. Think of the directory as a master address book for your business. Every contact that integrates within your projects, from your internal staff to external partners, clients, or vendors, is managed here. The directory doesn't just store basic contact information, it connects the person to the rest of the system. So when you assign a project manager, invite a subcontractor to a bid, or issue an invoice to a customer, Contractor Foreman automatically pulls from your directory to keep everything consistent. So let's take a look at it together. We'll head over to the very top menu and click on Directory under People. At a quick glance, we can take a look at all the different contacts we have within our system. And if you'd like to sort by a certain contact type or see how many contacts you have by the type, you can do so on the left-hand side and view it by users, contractors, customers, etc. If you're looking for a certain contact, you can use the search button on the top left-hand side. In addition, we also have a filter button, and you can filter via the scope, tags, type, or record status, whether it's active or archived. On the top right-hand corner, there's a few buttons which you might be familiar with. The first one is a watch a how-to video, and this is likely how you got to this video in the first place. In addition to the video, we also have a number of different articles from our knowledge base which you can review, outlining answers to frequently asked questions and some best tips and practices on this module. In addition, we also have a suggest a new feature button. Here at Contractor Foreman, we're always looking to improve. If you have an idea for an improvement or a suggestion or something that you'd like to see, feel free to drop us a note. We're always monitoring this inbox and we're always looking to send out updates based off the feedback that we get from our customers. And lastly is the module settings. The module settings button differs for each different module. For the directory, if you'd like to add custom fields or custom status labels or change the color, you can do so here under module settings. If we scroll over to the top right hand corner, we can add in a new contact and add in a new contractor, a customer, an employee, a lead, a miscellaneous contact, or a vendor. For this example, let's go ahead and add in a new contractor. We'll be asked to fill out some certain information, including the company he's from and his or her contact details. For this example, I'll make up a contact for this. So I'll call this Renewable Systems Inc. And maybe we can name this person John Ham. We'll give them a number and we'll make up an address, 123 William Street in New York, and hit save. And we now have a new contractor within our directory. We can add in some more information, including titles, project manager, his email if needed, johnham@renewable.com, his cell phone number, a fax, the scope of services. So in case you'd like to filter all your contractors by, for example, if they do asbestos removal, you can add in the scope of service, which will help you figure out from your directory which of these contractors provide this service. And you can also add multiple if needed. We can also add awning and canopy if needed as well, and an account number, which you can put in if needed. We can also add additional contacts within the company. So for example, John Ham is a project manager that we created for this contractor, but we can also make, for example, Stacy Ham, who is the sales or the invoice, let's call it an accountant. And this is the person who needs to be sent out the invoicing to. So accounting@renewables.com and hit save. In addition, we can also take a look at additional details. Here, for the contractor, we can provide a tax ID, payment terms if they have a default payment terms, and we can put it as net 30, the name on the check if it differs from the actual company name, their billing rate, which I can put at $90 an hour, their opening balance of how much is the account balance at the start of the fiscal period, which I'll leave as 0, and a website if needed, and tags. For example, this one would fall under labor because they provide additional labor. And when I'm searching for a contractor who can perform labor later on, I can filter via this tag. We can also incorporate show and crew schedule so that this additional details will fall under additional details. For example, knowing the average billing rate might be handy when we're looking at the crew schedule. If you have more questions about the crew schedule, please feel free to check out our training video under crew schedule. And billable. If clicking on billable, it'll create the transactions automatically billable towards the customer by default. And as of right now, I don't want to do it because this is not a T&M project that I want to do, and this is not a T&M contractor. And on the left-hand side, we can also take a look at documents. Here, we can view and look at all the documents associated with this contractor. For example, once this contractor starts working on different projects and they start sending out bills, or they start being on the end of a purchase order or leading safety meetings, any of those modules which involve this contractor will be listed over here. And this is why, like I mentioned earlier, the directory is a great way to pull all the information from the other modules within Contractor Foreman and see it specifically for this contact here. As we scroll to the left-hand side, we can view licenses and certifications, and here we can keep track of the licenses that the contractor has and make sure that we're aware of the expiration date and double checking that he has the correct licenses for us to use them. So for example, let's go ahead and create a sample license. We'll call this a journeyman license, and we can probably just make up a record number for this and add an expiration date for, let's say, end of next week. We can also attach a file and a photo of the license if needed as well. So I'll go ahead and add in the photo of the license that I have and hit attach and hit save. And now I have information about it, the license and certification, including the type, the record number, and the expiration date. One of the advantages of putting this information into Contractor Foreman is that you can set reminders for yourself and for your company to remind you that the contractor's license is expiring, and to make sure that it gets renewed if you're looking to use him on a new project or you're using him on an existing project. In order to do that, we can head over to Module Settings at the very top right-hand corner and take a look at Expiring Certificate Reminders. Here we can set the amount of notice that we need to give the certificate manager, which is ourselves, either the day of, 30-day prior, or 60-day priors, and choose which ones we'd like, as well as the contact. And we can also do day of, 30-day prior, and 60-day priors, and we can hit save. Now, both on the day that the license expires, 30 days before and 60 days before, both myself and my contractor will receive a notification reminding him that the license is expiring and we need to get it renewed. This way we can ensure that we're not using this contractor with an expired license, and if we're looking to bid out a new project, we're not hiring him when he has an expired license as well. Similarly, we can do the same thing for insurance certificates by going to the left-hand side and clicking on Insurance Certificate. Here, we can go to the top right, click on Plus Insurance, and fill out some information for the insurance certificate. Here, I'll call this liability insurance. We can make up a policy number for this and set the expiry date for end of next month. We can also set the limit for what that insurance covers. Let's say it's a standard $2 million liability insurance. And similarly, we can go ahead and attach a file, for example, the actual liability insurance or a photo of it if needed as well. And I'll go ahead and attach it because I have it handy, hit attach and hit save. And similarly, as the insurance certificate comes to expiration, will similarly be sent out a notification for both myself and the contractor because we set up the certificate manager settings earlier. Next up, we can go ahead and take a look at time off requests. If the contractor is looking to take some time off and you like to be aware of it and log it within your calendar and within Contractor Foreman, we can do so here under time off request. So I'll head over to plus time off request and let's say he's going on a holiday. So under type, it'll be holiday. We can put it as approved because we're okay with it. Let's say the start date is going to be next Monday and he's arriving back next Friday at 5 p.m. So he'll be gone for a week, and we'll say No work can be performed by him during this time as he is on vacation, and put show on calendar and hit save. Now, as we're working on our projects and we're reviewing our calendars, we can make a note that there's a time off request by this contractor and no work can be performed by this week during him. So when we're reviewing our calendars, we can double check and ensure that both the site personnel and otherwise in Contractor Foreman are aware that he's not available this week. Lastly, we can head over to the left-hand side and add any additional files for this contact if needed, as well as any additional internal notes that we like to add over here. On the left-hand side at the very top, we can also put in an internal rating for this contractor to just make a note if anybody else is looking to hire the subcontractor, what we rate him internally. For example, this contractor will give him a 4 out of 5 stars. And we can also add a picture if needed of him. So for example, I'll go ahead and upload a picture of John Ham over here. And we now have a photo of him in our directory as well. And this is everything that we can put in for our contractor. Before we move on, one last thing that you can do if you'd like to is give your contractor access to Contractor Foreman and assign them a role. In order to do so, head over to the top right hand corner and click on Allow Login Access. Here you can give them a role, for example admin main, admin, office support, etc. And based off the role you choose, it'll give them different company roles. For example, an admin has pretty much access to everything except a few, and this is based off the default settings. If you would like to change the company roles that's assigned to a role, you can do so in General Settings. For now, I'm not going to proceed because I don't want to give this contractor access to Contractor Foreman. Instead, I'll go back to the general dashboard of my directory. Going back to the top right hand corner, you can note that there's again a few different ways to add in a contact, including contractor, customer, employee, lead, miscellaneous contact, and vendor. Most of them are pretty much done the same way, but there are a few nuances when it comes to when it comes to employee and a lead. So let's go ahead and create a new employee. We'll call this again, maybe John Tumber instead. We can give them a number and we can give them an email, johntumber@renewable.com, and hit save. Now let's say this is a new employee that I want to add, and now I'm going to give them login access, and their role is going to be office support. So now I can review and look to see what their company roles are going to be, and their email, which I've already defined, and I can change their username as well if needed. So for example, I might just make this John T, and I'll go ahead and click on save. Now at the bottom under login details, I have some more options available to me. I can resend them the password instructions if needed. For example, if they forget their password or I need to make them a new one, I can click on email password instructions. I can review and change their role anytime if needed, review their company roles and what they have access to, their username, and their notification preferences. Within Contractor Foreman, anytime you're sending a notification, including emailing password instructions, or if there's a task starting and they're assigned to it and you have notifications in place, or you create a to-do and you'd like to send them a notification to remind them to do it, you can manage how they receive that notification over here. And it can either be email, a push via Contractor Foreman, whether iOS or Android, or a text message if you have their number within the system. In addition, you can also manage their access details, and this is particularly helpful if you have time cards enabled as well, or if the employee is using time cards. You can assign a default cost code. So for example, anytime they are looking to do a task or looking to start a time card, there'll be a default cost code automatically applied so they don't have to go around and look for it. In addition, you can also click on Take User directly to time card. Anytime they open up the app within their phone, it'll take them automatically to the time card page. This is very useful if your employee has Contractor Foreman primarily to access the time cards feature, for example, your site personnel. And lastly is viewable projects. If you'd like to assign only certain projects, you can click on Some and click on the projects that you'd like to assign them. Or if you'd like to give them access to all data within all projects that you have existing, you can just simply click on All. In addition, for an employee, we can also go to the left-hand side and take a look at training and certifications. Similar to licenses and insurance, we can maintain documents that an employee needs to maintain in order to perform their job duties and manage the expiry date. For example, I'll go ahead and click on Plus Certificate and add in a training called OSHA 10 Training. I can say it was issued about a few weeks ago and it expires a few months from now. I can make up a certificate number if needed, and another best practice similar to licenses and insurance is to upload a copy of the training or the certificate as well. We can add and attach, hit save, and we now have a training and certificate or a training that's stored underneath the employee's directory name, including the certificate number, the subject, when it was issued, and when it was expired. And similar to licenses and insurance, the expiry date notification is held by the module settings under Certificate Manager, and you can make changes to that as needed. One of the other things that we can do for an employee is create a time off request. We'll head over to the left-hand side and click on time off request, and here we can log a vacation, a leave, or whatever other kind of absence. In order to do that, we'll head over to the top right and click on time off request. And for the reason, we'll say maybe they're going on a vacation. So under type, we can put in holiday. For status, we can put approved because we've already discussed it. And let's say they'll be gone for about a full week from November 11th 3rd at 8 a.m. to November 11th 7th at 5 p.m. And if we need to, we can also put it and show it on our calendar so we can mark that this employee is absent for everybody else who's looking at the calendar to be aware of. And with that, we'll hit save. And we now have an absence request for an employee. Let's go back to the main directory dashboard, click on Plus Contact, and create a new lead. A lead is somebody who's not a customer yet, but is a potential customer that you're actively pursuing in order to sign a project with them. So for example, let's call this Friends Architecture & Co. We will call this Mike Harris. Under the stage, we have a few different options, including received, pending, qualifying, qualified, coded, or lost. For this, I'll put in received. This is a new lead that just came in recently. We can add in a cell number if needed, and an address we can make up as well for this example. And I'll hit save. Now, one of the differences that comes with the lead is that on the left-hand side, we have a sales tab. Here, we can keep track of the details of the project type that we're looking to sign with the customer and the workflow for the sales that is pending right now. On the sales tab, we can enter in some information about the pending sale that we're pursuing from this lead. For example, I can put in the project type and type in what kind of project this is. For this, I'll choose home renovation. And I can also put an estimated sales date of when this customer is looking to purchase a service. We can also add a lead value of how much this potential lead is. I'll put 250K. And we can also assign a score being for how likely is it for this customer or this lead to purchase our services. It could be 5, that they're very actively engaged with us and they're very likely to purchase, or 1, there's a lot of competition, a lot of bids, the customer doesn't seem interested and it's not likely. And you can use this to gauge how much effort or work that really needs to go into this lead. For this, I'll put 4. For the project address, we can add in a new project, or if it's the same address as the lead, we can simply copy from the contact address and we can import the same address as the lead. On the sales end, we can assign a sales rep, which in this case is myself because I created the lead. We can add a last contacted, which we'll get into in a second. And if it was referred to by anybody, for example, Mike Boeing, who is a previous customer of ours. Next up, we can also add tasks associated with this lead. If there are things to do, for example, phone call, creating an estimate, getting more information from the customer or from the lead, you can assign those tasks over here. So for example, I'll go ahead and create a new task, and I'll add this task to be a subject on find out what type of flooring to include, an estimate, and I'll assign this to myself. In order to find out this information, I've scheduled a phone call for tomorrow at 10 a.m. There's not an existing project or opportunity right now. This is just going to be simply a call. status is open, it has not been completed yet. This is the number I need to call, and I'll hit save. And I now have a task associated with this. Once the call has been completed and ready to go, I can mark it off as completed. We now have a record of the task being completed for this lead, and this way we can keep track of all the different tasks that are associated with this lead, assign them accordingly, and ensure that all the leads that we have are actively being engaged on, and see a history of record of what was completed in order to close or not win this project. Using the import feature is a great way to add a huge list of names quickly. If you're importing a lot of information from a previous software and need to import a big directory list, the best way to do so is to use the Excel file import view and quickly add in the contacts that you have. And with that, we can now close off our training video. The directory is more than just a list of names, it's the operational core of your business data. Every project, estimate, and invoice connects back to it. By maintaining a clean and detailed directory, you can ensure smoother collaboration between your office and field teams, accurate financial tracking, and better communication with clients and partners, and making sure that they're being attended to. If you need help or have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us by the live chat or send us an email at support@contractorforeman.com. And if you'd like to have any more in-depth training, make sure to book a session on our training page. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.